Hello, wrestling fans. This is Smart Mark, and this is the new show, the new digs. This is how it's going to be from now on. This is basically going to be the week in wrestling for everything besides WWE. As you can see, I'm going to be reviewing Florida Championship Wrestling, Ring Ka King, Impact Wrestling, and Ring of Honor Wrestling. All in one show, giving you what you really need to know, a little less of a breakdown of every little thing that happens, just the main shit that you need to know about what is happening week to week on these shows. So this is basically the week of, well, we're going to start with February 11th, and we'll go through February 16th. On February 11th, we'll start with Ring Ka King. The participants for the tag team tournament were announced. We've got teams like the Sheiks, Patani Pate, Sanjay Dutt and Brutus Magnus, the Bollywood Boys, Mumbai Cats, Broadway and Hollywood, Chavo Guerrero and Bulldog Hart, maybe a couple more here. I'm introduced to a character named Jwala, who is a monster, and he beats TNT, who, despite the name, he's a guy, kind of a big guy, a la Bastion Booger, with face paint. So Jwala picks up a win against him, and in the first round of the tag team tournament, we get the Sheiks versus Patani Pate, and the Sheiks pick up the win, moving on into the tournament. Then we get Sanjay Dutt and Brutus Magnus versus Jimmy Rave and Zema Ion. Dutt and Magnus get the win, advancing in the tournament. Then we get the announcement that on tomorrow's episode, Roscoe Jackson, who you may, it's Dick Slater's kid. He's worked under different names for WWE and TNA, versus Isaiah Cash, coming on the February 12th episode, and they're going to be fighting in a number one contenders match to get a title shot against Matt Morgan. Moving on. Also on the 11th, we get Ring of Honor Wrestling. In a match that I thought was going to be something that happened at a pay-per-view, but they put it on this episode, we get Eddie Edwards going against KO, Kyle O'Reilly. Edwards gets the win. Post-match, we get Edwards and Adam Cole forming a tag team. And then we get 2 matches during this episode added to the 10th anniversary pay-per-view. We're going to get Tommaso Ciampa versus Jay Lethal for the TV title. And I think it's my prediction there is going to be that Ciampa is going to win. Lethal's had that title for a while. Later in the show, we get the announcement of Edwards and Cole versus Richards and O'Reilly. So, tag team match there, and we already know that the Young Bucks are getting the Briscoes for the titles. So, shaping up, we got some good matches there coming up on pay-per-view that's only going to cost $10, and it's the 10th anniversary show, guys. So, if you aren't already a member of Ring of Honor Wrestling's website, you need to sign up. That's where you watch the show weekly for free, and then ain't no thing to get on there and watch these pay-per-views for dirt cheap. In the main event, we get the House of Truth, which is Roderick Strong and Michael Elgin versus the Briscoes in a match where both teams put up $5,000. winner take all for the money, and House of Truth end up winning the match by disqualification. Truth Martini threw powder in I think it was Mark Briscoe's eyes. Mark Briscoe then goes out, comes back in with a bat, and gets himself disqualified. So House of Truth gets the win. However, Briscoes were left with the envelopes with the money at the end. So kind of just an entertaining deal. I don't know that we have a lot of future ramifications here. Then on February 12th, we get Florida Championship Wrestling. On this show, we get Husky Harris, Mike Dalton, and Botch City. We get Husky Harris, Mike Dalton, and Antonio Cesaro all getting wins in what are basically enhancement matches. Then we get Raquel Diaz defending the Divas title against Audrey Marie. She retains the title. And in what was a really good main event, we get Leah Key versus Leo Kruger for the heavyweight title, and Leo Kruger retains in a match that I actually kind of expected Leah Key to win going into it, but the longer the match went, the more I felt, that it was going to be Kruger retaining, and that's what happened. It was a pretty good, you get right there 6 matches on FCW in an hour. It's great stuff. Just to give you the breakdown here, when it comes down to it, I watch Impact Wrestling, on Spike TV. Then the Ring of Honor I watch on their website, which I've signed up for to be able to watch the show for free. And then FCW and Ring Ka King, watching right here on YouTube. You can find the episodes week to week. So that was FCW for the 12th. Then we get a second episode of Ring Ka King on the 12th, where we see the Bollywood Boys advancing in the tag team tournament against Mumbai Cats. God. All right, slow down. The Bollywood Boys versus the Mumbai Cats, and the Bollywood Boys get the victory, advancing in the tournament. They'll be meeting Sanjay Dutt and Brutus Magnus next in the tournament. Then we get the number 1 contenders match between Roscoe Jackson and Isaiah Cash. When Roscoe is coming out to the ring, he gets jumped by Dwala, obviously advancing what will probably be a feud between these two, and they still have the match. Jackson ends up getting beat by Isaiah Cash. Makes sense. We've got the feud now to go forward with Roscoe Jackson and Dwala, and Isaiah Cash is another big. That's the one thing that really stands out about Ring Ka King, is they've got some big motherfuckers. And Isaiah Cash, Dwala, Roscoe Jackson, TNT, Matt Morgan, Scott Steiner. They've got some big dudes. Bulldog Hart. So Cash advancing now. He is the number 1 contender against Matt Morgan. Then we get the American Adonis, another big motherfucker who is Chris Masters, and he's laying down the Adonis Lock Challenge. Basically, some dude who name I couldn't pronounce comes down and just gets locked in right away. But then we get Mahabali Veera, who is another just jack dude. He's not huge, but he is stacked, and he comes down to challenge Adonis. So we got some advancement in the storyline there against two guys that for all intents and purposes, look like they could give us a good match. If you like Chris Masters, and I know a lot of you guys do, I do, it's nice to see him and Ring King. Then in the main event for the show on the 12th, we get the Broadway and Hollywood versus Chavo and Bulldog Hart. Bulldog Hart get the win and advance in the tournament, and they'll be facing the Sheiks in the semi-final round. So we got Chavo and Bulldog versus the Sheiks, and we've got Magnus and Sanjay Dutt versus the Bollywood Boys in the semi-final. My prediction is we're going to see Magnus and Dutt versus Chavo and Bulldog in the final, but we'll see some interference by the Sheiks, I think, because I think they're going to try to advance a feud between Chavo and Bulldog against the Sheiks. So we will see Magnus and Dutt become the tag team champions. That's my prediction. We'll see what actually happens. Moving on to the Impact Wrestling from February 16th. We do find out that Jesse Sorensen sustained an injury versus Zema Ion in a number one contenders match, so I guess by default Zema Ion becomes the number one contender. Then we get a match where it's Ion and Austin Aries versus Shannon Moore and Alex Shelley. Sorry about that. And Zema Ion ends up getting the pin, thus making him look stronger as an opponent against Austin Aries. Then in a number one contenders match, we get a 10 knockout battle royal. During this match, Madison Rayne she comes out and says any of the knockouts in the ring right now get the chance to face Gail Kim for the title. Then she goes out, sits next to Gail Kim throughout the match. As things develop, she ends up coming back in and winning. So Madison Rayne is now the number one contender for the title against Gail Kim, which I think is interesting and maybe a little soon, but this is where this was probably inevitably going to go. I would have liked to have seen them lose the tag titles to TNT before this happened, but we'll see what happens going forward. Bobby Roode retains his title against Jeff Hardy in a no disqualification, no time limit match. We did get interference by Kurt Angle, setting up Roode going for the spear on Hardy. So we get advancement here of a feud going with Hardy and Angle, which I like. Then we get a number one contenders match with James Storm against Bully Ray. James Storm picks up the win and becomes the number one contender. Later on, we get Sting saying that this match will happen on Lockdown. So James Storm against Bobby Roode at Lockdown for the title. Loving it. And yeah, some good storyline advancement here. And that is everything that happened for Ring of Honor, Florida Championship Wrestling, Ring King and Impact Wrestling, the 11th through the 16th. And this is how I'm going to do it from now on. Let me know what you guys think. If you're a WWE fan, this is definitely a way for you to just get a quick rundown of everything going on everywhere else. If you are a fan of everything else, this is just a quick couple of thoughts and rundown of what I noticed, what I thought was important on these shows. So, new format. Hope you guys like it. If not, get bent. If so, stick with us and we'll see you next week. I'm Smart Mark. Thank you for continuing with us. Goodbye.